So anyways, so I wanted to do a recap video about my time in Europe. So I almost made it to 2 months, and but it was just under 2 months because I left in January. I did cut out a few of the cities that I planned on going to, and I ended my trip in Switzerland. I had like four more cities to go to, but it was just too much for me, and the the currency exchange was just horrible. So I ended up spending like a good chunk of my budget in Europe, uh, which is okay, I guess. And I just needed to be somewhere warm because the cold weather was getting to me. But anyways, on that note, I really wanted to do a recap with you guys about my less than 2 months in Europe. So if you guys are following my trip, you would have seen my first video, which was, or not my very first video, but my first Facebook Live video, which was in Lisbon. I did hear a lot about appropriation happening in Europe before I came here. I watched a lot of videos, heard about it over the years about hobbyists. Hobbyists are people who wear indigenous clothing, pretty much everything from our customs to our drums to our songs to our gatherings. They copy this whole thing over here, and it's really quite disgusting. So anyways, I wasn't expecting to see it so soon when I got to Lisbon, Portugal. So I was in my Facebook Live video. I was walking through one of the squares, and I came across this guy in a loincloth with a headdress, and we had an exchange of words. I wasn't expecting the conversation to go that way, but it did, and I got really pissed off. And then this video has like over 8,000 views now. So that was my first video, and that was my first experience seeing that firsthand in a public space. So that was really interesting. I think, yeah. And then from there on, I've been seeing us tokenized, sexualized, over here, and it's really interesting. I've seen everything from street art to pictures of us on clothing to children's books to paintings, knickknacks, crafts, souvenir stores, people dressed as us. Like, I've seen it all. I honestly was blown away at how, I guess, obsessed, or how how much they're into us over here. That really, really surprised me. And I came across a lot of stores in Europe that were being promoted as being South American, but when you actually go into the store, it was like North American words, Native American stuff. And I was telling a friend of mine, I said, I wonder if tourists realize that this isn't actually South American stuff. This is actually North American stuff that they're selling in these stores. And every dream catchers, like dream catchers everywhere. Everything is a dream catcher. Like, seriously, every single city has dream catchers. And I'm now making it my mission to find this dream catcher factory in China somewhere. And then my next video was of me in Bilbao, visiting a friend and visiting the Basque people, learning about the indigenous Basque language. Well, while I was there, they had Carnival, which is a European celebration. But to my surprise, I went to Carnival one morning, and parents were walking around with their kids dressed in blackface. People were dressed as stereotypical Chinese people. Groups of people were dressed as Native Americans, and they were having contests as to like who was the best dressed. And I was absolutely floored at this citywide racist event in Bilbao. I was really, really quite disgusted. And then a group of people were actually pulling a teepee around on a wagon, wearing t-shirts written "Free Leonard Peltier," and having war paint and stuff on, and it was really disgusting. And then my final Facebook Live video I just did last week, For my birthday, I went up into the Swiss Alps for my birthday, and on my way up, at one of the ski resorts, there's two big teepees that are actually a bar serving alcohol, sponsored by Coca-Cola. These two teepees at the top of the mountains in the Swiss Alps. And I don't know how I came across this stuff. Like, it's just everywhere. Like, it's everywhere in Europe. So on a final note, one of my goals for this trip was to make it to Berlin for this powwow, and this hobbyist powwow. But then by the time I got to Berlin, I was so exhausted with everything I've seen, mentally exhausted, emotionally exhausted, with everything that I'd seen, that I decided not to go to this powwow. Like, I was just done. A lot of microaggressions, and you have to take into account, like, what the impact that has on us as Indigenous people when hobbyists, when racists do things like that, such as the cultural appropriation, the tokenism, the romanticism, the sexualization of our culture, and the impact that has on us. So by the time I got to Berlin, I was done. I was tired. I was done with Europe. I just wanted to get out of here. So I ended up cutting out 4 cities out of my trip, and made my way to Switzerland to spend time with some friends, and then I flew out, and now I'm here in India. So anyways, I love Europe. I like Europe a lot. I met a ton of people, met a lot of new friends, took a lot of photos, met a lot of new folks for my photo project, and yeah, it was an amazing 6-7 weeks in Europe. I left in January, and now it's March, and now I'm in India for the next 4 to 6 weeks. So anyways, thanks for following along, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.